Have you ever cried in sujud, begging Allah for something, and felt like the heavens stayed silent? What if I told you silence is an answer? That Allah never ignores you, even when it feels like your du'as are unanswered. This true Islamic story will shake your heart and remind you why trusting Allah is the most powerful du'a of all. The night was heavy with silence, except for the faint whispers of a young man's voice breaking through the stillness of his room. His name was Yusuf, a 24-year-old student from Karachi. He sat cross-legged on the floor, a small Quran open in front of him, his tear-streaked face buried in his hands. The room was dim, only lit by the weak glow of a lamp, and the sound of the ceiling fan hummed in the background. Ya Allah, please just once answer me. I've been asking you for years. Don't leave me alone, he whispered, his voice trembling. For the last 5 years, Yusuf had carried a heavy weight on his heart. His father had been diagnosed with a rare disease that drained his strength, leaving him bedridden. Doctors had said there was little hope. Medicine could slow it, but not cure it. Ever since that day, Yusuf had begged Allah for a miracle. Every tahajjud, every sujud, every tearful dua he raised had the same plea, Ya Allah, heal my father. But day after day, nothing seemed to change. His father grew weaker. His mother, a woman of iron faith, never stopped whispering dhikr. She reminded Yusuf, Allah listens, my son. Not a word goes unheard. But Yusuf's heart wrestled with questions he dared not speak aloud. Why isn't Allah answering me? Am I not sincere enough? Am I too sinful? Why does it feel like my du'as rise up only to disappear into the ceiling? One evening, after another day of watching his father struggle to breathe, Yusuf snapped. He stormed out of the house, ignoring his mother's calls, and wandered aimlessly through the streets. His heart burned with anger and confusion. He passed the mosque, where the adhan was being called, but he couldn't bring himself to enter. His eyes fell on the dark corners of the street, where laughter and music spilled from a cafe filled with youth smoking shisha and playing cards. For a moment, Yusuf's steps faltered. Maybe I should just forget it all, forget prayers, forget du'as, forget this struggle. If Allah isn't answering, what's the point? But just then, an old man stepped out of the mosque, leaning on a cane. His frail figure, his slow steps, and the tranquility on his face caught Yusuf's attention. The man noticed Yusuf standing there, lost in thought, and approached him. My son, why do you look so burdened? The old man asked gently. Yusuf hesitated, then words spilled out of him like a flood. He poured his heart out. The years of unanswered du'as, the pain of watching his father suffer, the confusion, the doubts. The old man listened patiently, then smiled softly. Do you know the story of Prophet Yaqub? A.S.? He lost his son Yusuf, A.S., for decades. Yet he said, I only complain of my suffering and grief to Allah, and I know from Allah that which you do not know. Decades, my son, and still he trusted. Tears welled in Yusuf's eyes. But I'm not a prophet. I'm just an ordinary sinner. The old man placed a hand on his shoulder. And that is why Allah's mercy is even more for you. The prophet said, Dua is the weapon of the believer. Do you think a weapon is useless just because you don't see its effect right away? Sometimes Allah delays because he loves to hear your voice. Sometimes he delays because he is saving you from something worse. And sometimes he delays only to give you something far greater than you can imagine. The man smiled again, and before Yusuf could respond, he slowly walked away into the darkness. It was as if he had appeared only to deliver that message. Yusuf felt something stir in his heart. For the first time in months, a tiny flicker of hope returned. That night, Yusuf prayed again, his forehead pressed against the prayer mat. Ya Allah, if you don't heal my father, give me patience. If you don't remove this trial, give me strength. If you don't change my situation, then change my heart. Days turned into weeks, and Yusuf kept making dua, not just for healing, but for trust. Slowly, his heart softened. He began to notice things he hadn't before. The smile on his father's face when Yusuf recited Quran by his bedside, the peace in his mother's eyes when she whispered Alhamdulillah despite everything, the way his siblings drew closer as a family. Then came the night that would change everything. It was a stormy evening. Rain battered the windows as Yusuf sat by his father's bed, holding his frail hand. Suddenly, his father's breathing grew shallow. His chest heaved, his lips trembled, and Yusuf panicked. "Emmy, Emmy," he cried. His mother rushed in, her hands shaking but her lips firm and diker. "Read Yasin," she whispered. Yusuf's voice cracked as he recited, Yasin. Wal Quran Hakim, his father's eyes filled with tears as he looked at Yusuf one last time. With a faint smile, he whispered, La ilaha illallah, and his soul returned to Allah. The room fell silent except for the sound of rain and Yusuf's sobs. His world shattered. This is it. This is the answer to my dua. My father is gone. The days after the funeral were a blur. Yusuf felt numb, betrayed by his own hope. But on the third night, he dreamt of his father. In the dream, his father stood healthy, radiant, wearing white clothes that shone with light. He hugged Yusuf tightly and said, My son, your duas reached me. They were not wasted. Every tear you shed, every word you whispered, became light in my grave. Allah did not ignore you. He answered in ways you could not see. Yusuf woke up with tears streaming down his face, but this time they were mixed with peace. He realized then Allah had never abandoned him. His dua had always been answered, not by prolonging his father's life, but by granting him a beautiful ending, a heart firm on La ilaha illallah, and peace in the next world. Years passed. Yusuf grew into a man of faith, his heart softened by trials, his trust in Allah unshakable. He became a teacher of Quran, reminding his students of what he had learned the hard way. When your dua seems unanswered, trust Allah. He is Al-Hakim, the All-Wise. His delay is not denial. His silence is not neglect. Sometimes his no is actually a greater yes. And sometimes the answer is waiting for you in Jannah. And every night, Yusuf still raised his hands, whispering duas with tears in his eyes, not with despair, but with certainty. Because now he knew Allah always listens. Brothers and sisters, never lose hope in your duas. Allah listens, Allah cares, and Allah's plan is always better than ours. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to Deen in Minute for more emotional Islamic stories that will bring you closer to Allah. Share this with someone who needs hope today, because sometimes the reminder you give to others becomes the dua that saves you tomorrow.